Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Tre Hendrix here in the Tre Hendrix Podcast. I know you're looking at the video right now like, damn, like, it's just a silhouette talking. But I do got two special guests with me. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Noah. I'm the host of the My Mike and I podcast. I have a few other things going on too. If you see my page, I'm a sports broadcaster. I'm a writer. I try and do as much as I can. I'm a youth football coach. And yeah, thanks for having me, Trey.
Hey, no problem, man.
My name is CroCooks. I'm a producer here in Orange County. I make anything from old school hip hop to new school R&B. I got some work done with Trey, J-Mac, and I'm working on some stuff with Devereaux right now too.
Hey, that's what's up. And by the way, everybody, CroCooks is the first recurring guest here in the Tre Hendrix Podcast on episode, I think we on 6. So, hey, the salute.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. It's always cool to just kick it, let me talk my shit.
Hey, exactly, man. So I know we went over topics before, and one thing that I always have a debate with my friends about is if a college degree, do you need a college degree to be successful? And it's not a black and white answer to that question, of course, but I do want to hear what your guys' opinion on that is.
Go ahead, Noah.
I got the first floor on this one. It's going to be weird to say, like, because I have a college degree and I did the whole, school. I finished at 5 years, but, like, honestly, I don't think you need one to be successful. Obviously, it varies person to person, like what lane you're in. If you're trying to be like an engineer, then yeah, you kind of need a college degree for a lot of stuff like that. But if you just want to make a lot of money, you could do like construction and don't need a college degree. If you want to make a lot of money, you can learn how to video edit and then do music. You shoot music videos for artists in your area. So I just think like a lot like 20 years ago, bachelor's degree meant, hey, you're going to get like a good office job, and then potential, like, people are going to look at that bachelor's and be like, okay, you can move up to management. But now that's not the case. I think actually there's like so many bachelor's degrees out there right now, it kind of dilutes the market, you know what I'm saying? So now everyone has a bachelor's, and you almost need to get a master's to really stand out for like applications and stuff like that,
No, I definitely agree. Like, for example, you're trying to be a lawyer, you're going to need a college degree. You're trying to be a doctor, you need a college degree. I just feel like what you said, like nowadays everyone has one that's kind of devalued in a sense. You know what I mean? I feel like you can be successful without a college degree. A lot of times, you have to get a little grittier, got to, work your way up from wherever you're starting, work fast food to an office job to whatever you're doing.
Even getting multiple degrees too.
Yeah.
That's like a thing a lot of people are doing. I got a buddy going to UCI. He's having a double major right now, 2 different kinds of engineering. And he's like, I just need that to have a chance to make it in the field. Like it's fucking nuts out there, man.
Yeah.
Does that impact like engineering, really?
Yeah, STEM majors for sure.
I know a lot of people too, like former athletes, they want to be kinesiology majors and become like a physical therapist, and not knocking them, but like a lot, like most of the time, if you want to do it for like a sports team and be legit, like you have to get your master's. Like they won't even look at you if you get a bachelor's. So there's no point of just settling for a bachelor's for kines.
No, agreed. Because I'm a business major right now, so I'm pretty sure there's a job out there for me, when this is all said and done. But like the other majors, like I would say history would be one, even though I like history. I'm not even gonna lie. Like it sucks they do history majors so bad. But do you think the arts are just as important as the sciences, or should be treated just as important as the sciences?
Yes, I 100% think so. Let me just say this real quick. I think like one of the strongest arguments for why it's so important is because try and go a month without art.
All forms too.
All forms of art. I'm talking, because even media, like TV shows and movies, that's still technically an art, man. You start to get rid of that stuff. There goes all of our form of entertainment. There goes all of our, escapes from reality. So I think it should be treated a little bit more seriously in terms of like academics, and in high school, that sort of stuff.
The way I see like art degrees is like it's the color that adds the color to life. You know what I'm saying? Like without art majors and art people who are into that kind of stuff, I mean, I think life would be pretty black and white and pretty boring if you ask me. It's kind of like, But there's like such a negative stereotype because I majored in communications and minored in journalism. And so, you know, I have like family friends that like as soon as I'm done graduating, because I finished in Sacramento, so when I moved back home, you know, like I had a graduation party and my parents' friends would come, especially like the older generation type. They're asking me like, oh, what'd you major in? I'm like, communications and journalism. Like, this is what I want to do. And they look at me like, oh, like, so you don't want to make any money, huh? Or just they say something like remark like that. And it's like, all right, well, fuck you. It's not all about that, you know, but I just kind of have to like nod and laugh away like, fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I feel that. I'm going to school right now, studying audio engineering. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, it's a lot harder than what people realize. And it's a lot more nerdy. It's not so much like the cool side of music, you know, like they think like it's all glamorous. It's like, nah, dude, I'm hanging out in my bedroom, listening to the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. And they're still treating it like, oh, he's just trying to be some cool musician, blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, I'm not cool. Like, I hang out by myself working on music all the time. All right.
No, and engineering is mad important. I think I talked about it in a podcast before. It's just like people don't recognize it because, like I said, when someone's a rapper or singer or someone's a producer, once you hear the song, you hear their contribution. But with engineering, you don't really hear the average listener, I would say, you know, doesn't really pay attention to, like, the reverb and effects they put. They just think the person sings in the microphone. It just comes out exactly how the record plays on the radio.
Right. Yeah. You notice when it sounds bad, though, for sure.
Oh, you do.
When a mix is bad, you know, that's when you're like, man, whoever recorded that just lost their job.
Yeah, like a lot of those, sometimes you hear like the small up and coming rappers that like have that one radio hit and you hear it on the radio and you're like, this sounds like way like not as mixed cleanly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah,
fact.
Massive difference. Difference.
Like recently that song, remember that song Uno? I forgot you say the artist's name.
Yeah, AMBJ.
Like, yeah, that song is terribly mixed, man. You know that song's trashly mixed.
Yeah, it's true.
Why are some songs that like aren't good become pop? Well, music's subjective, you know. I get it. Mm-hmm. There's some songs that are just like trash, but they end up being like the most popular ones.
Dude, you know, it's funny that you bring that up because I was listening to Kid Cudi's first album the other day. The one that had, you know, Pursuit of Happiness, all like his massive hits.
Oh, Man on the Moon, yeah.
Man on the Moon, yeah. It's mixed like shit, dude. It sounds amateur, but like the music just feels so good that I think like it kind of makes up for it. You know, like you listen to those lyrics and you listen to like those melodies and stuff, and it just like takes you to another place. So you don't really mind the mix as much, you know? That's how I felt, at least.
Well, I'm pretty sure when you listened to it back then, how long was it? How long ago was that? Was that over 10 years ago? Probably like more or less.
I think so. I think like 2009, 2010.
Yeah, that's when my music taste was so trash, man. I like, you know what I mean? I like that was like the ringtone era or a little bit after that.
Yeah, just a little bit after, man. Sheesh. To add on what CroCooks was saying, man, because I have a producer friend too who produces the instrumentals for my show, and I remember like right after high school we would sit and like this was around when the time I Spy came out with Kyle and Lil Yachty.
Yeah.
And that, like Kyle. I remember he was so mad because like, you know, he worked hard and makes different beats and like, you know, he was trying to find artists to work with back then, like really hard. And you know, like that song, like the beat wise is very simple. It's like a couple keys. And then, you know, even like what they're rapping on is kind of like, is this a joke? And that shit popped off. Like, you know, like that was like, I don't know if a number one song, but it was like top 10 for like a good amount of while. And even if you play it now, like people would be like, oh, like, hey. And so like when Tre brought that up, I was thinking like songs like that, or even like Panda by Designer or stuff like that, where it's just like, how do we allow this to the top?
It's wild, man. I know what you're saying. And I feel like since then, those were the guys that kind of started this trend for like, I call it like TikTok type music. Because like you listen to the tracks that like pop off on there and it's like they aren't all exactly the same, but they have a certain feeling to them, right? Like there's a certain, I don't know what it is, but they all kind of fit this certain mold, like super danceable. You know, I feel like that sort of started a few years back with the guys like Kyle, with guys like Lil Yachty, you know, just making like these catchy little tracks that kids love, you know, like 15, 16-year-olds eat it up, man.
No, facts. And one thing is like, you know how there's always like a generational divide between each generation, especially with music, sports, and you name it. Yeah. These kids' new music is trash, man. I hate to sound like the old man. Be like, I'm
fucking
sorry.
Old head, you old head, dude.
So what do we call the old heads to us? The people who called our music trash? What, like, are they like grandpa heads or?
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
I get where they're coming from now. I do.
Yeah. Same, man. Same. It's a trip.
Mm-hmm. It's a strange time that we're living in, dude. Like, I feel like the old school style of music is gonna start to make a comeback. Like lyrical stuff, you know, like golden age of hip hop. I feel like that sort of trend is gonna start to come back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at like the rappers who are like quote unquote on the top right now, there are the ones that could rap. You know what I mean? Kendrick, J. Cole, Drake. I think it's like those three are really like that.
Yeah.
And am I missing anybody that's up there that, you know, can rap? That's
no, I would agree with like that's the top three right now as far as like status and recognizability and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, so I think lyrics and stuff always been important, but I think it's just people want like the microwave type stuff, you know what I mean? Like stuff like give me a catchy hook, a little hard beat with some 808s that are popping, bam, that's a single, that's a hit, that's right there, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. Going back to what we're originally talking about, though, what do you guys think of kids dropping out of college to pursue rapping? What do you think of that trend?
I don't mind it. I think just like anything, though, not even just rap, but like kids, not even so much kids, just like young adults, they got to understand like how much work you got to put into something like that. And there is like the once in a blue moons like Kyle or the once in a blue moon designer who just make a few songs and then pop off. But then look at where they're at now. Like they don't have a lot of longevity. But there have been people in the past and like you can name a few one-hit wonders even dating back to our age when we were middle schoolers or elementary school that kind of had a one-hit song and then they made a lot of money off of it. And if they were smart, they probably made it last, but a lot of them probably didn't. But, like, so people just want to, ride the wave, I think. And I think to them it's like, hey, like sometimes they do hear the songs that are simple beats, simple like rap lyrics, talking about bitches or money, like, and they think I could do this, like, fuck, and then so they drop out of school. But it doesn't always work like that, I just think like no matter what you're going to pursue, you're gonna have to work hard, whether you want to be a doctor, lawyer, rapper, dentist, like, I don't know, like you're just gonna have to grind,
For sure. You know what I see way too much of these days is rappers who don't know how music works and like don't understand like actual like song arrangement, like it's okay if you don't know crazy music theory, but like know the basics, like I'm seeing way too many people like not doing their homework in plain terms, and I feel like that's where school comes into play,
Agreed. They're just skipping the whole, like, you got to pay your dues. You got to do your research. They're just skipping that, going straight to YouTube, Drake type beat, download, go to the studio. And that's what they're doing. They're not taking the time with it. If someone were to say, the question was like kids dropping out of college to rap or pursuing rap. I'll try. If I had a friend in that scenario, I'll try to recommend them to try to do both if they can. But at the end of the day, you could always go back to college. Is this rap opportunity going to be here in 10 years from now? I'm not sure. So I would say chase whatever you want to do.
And I think a lot of times too on college campuses, I mean, you guys both are going to college and I went to college. Like how many rappers are in college? Like, so there's a chance to like, even if you don't like school, you can always network with them, learn stuff from them, maybe make a song together, collaborate, that kind of thing. So, and I wrote some notes. So like, I know J. Cole and Wale were like the two that kind of off to my top of my head. They went to college, you know what I'm saying? And they're pretty well-known rappers. So there's no reason, like you said, there's no reason why you can't do both. I don't see why that's a problem.
I feel like it would make your raps better too, to be honest. Like going through that general ed, you're learning about like all this random stuff. Like you could just like take what you're learning in your classes and like use it as inspiration. You got more stuff bouncing around in there.
And people be hitting you with biology raps and shit.
Dude, that'd be hard. That'd be hard.
I'm powerhouse like a mitochondria or whatever.
Dude. But I feel like I do like Lupe Fiasco, Absol, and a few other rappers like that, where they do sometimes drop like some random like history nugget.
Yeah.
Whether it's like from Huey Newton or even further back to like ancient Greek or Egyptians kind of thing. So it's like, because I did like history too, and I paid attention in those classes in high school and college. When I hear one of those and like one of their songs, I'm like, oh, like that's hard. Like, you know, it makes it that much more special.
Exactly. So do your homework. If you're going to pursue rap, I say just do your homework, do your research, know a little bit about music, know a little bit about everything you can, you know, be a sponge.
Yeah, facts.
So, in other news, I know it's election season. This ain't really a political podcast, but I really want to throw this topic in. And, you know, Donald Trump is going to be up for re-election, you know, against Joe Biden. First of all, I hate the two-party system, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Let's not even get into that.
There is like other parties, but like no one ever talks about them. They don't even give them a chance, you know?
Nah.
And if you vote for one of those parties, you get shamed.
Yeah. I never understood that. Like, you have the freedom to vote for whoever the fuck you want to. It's not like you have to choose A or B, like, you know?
No, and that's stupid. But okay, hold on.
It's already happening.
How politics are when I'm getting my brain's trying to, you know. But what I was gonna say,
let it flow.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is Donald Trump's up for re-election. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, I thought he was for sure getting reelected, but because of how he handled it, I think that might change things. I was wondering what you guys think.
I think he still has a really good chance of getting reelected, man. I just looked at his approval rating. They took like a big poll on the 1st of May, so a couple weeks back, and he still has a 50% approval rating. Yeah. So even though he's like not doing a ton for the American people right now, and Joe Biden is like trying his best to campaign, I think it's looking bleak. People still support him hard. Like his supporters love him.
Yeah, it's tough because like I think I'll have to double check like during the conversation, but I believe his like approval rating was in the 40s not too long ago, probably before COVID. So it was pretty low, and I was in the opposite, Trey. I thought he was like had a good chance of getting not reelected. But then I just think with COVID, like at the end of the day, I think this is going to distract a lot of people. When they had the primaries a few months ago, I honestly forgot like the primaries were that day because we were just in the middle of the quarantine or like at the beginning of the quarantine, and there was all this news, and it's still scary. And I think as long as we stay quarantined, social distancing is still a thing. People aren't working. There's already a lot of fear in people. So I think it's pretty easy for someone like Trump or whoever was the president at this time. But if you just say a couple of comforting words and do a couple so things, you know, people are going to like you. And then because they're not going to do their research because of this time period. And you know, like I said, I'm not trying to be too political, but Joe Biden is not the best candidate either. So it's kind of like, who are you going to pick? The dude we know is a fuck up, or the dude who we don't really know how much of a fuck up he is, you know?
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
CroCooks trying his best to stay neutral, but no, I do agree with everybody's points. I still see him getting reelected. I think I remember back when Obama got Obama got elected first in 2008. I was like, man, this shit's incredible. Like, we got a black president and all that. And 2016, when Trump got elected, I was like, that's even more incredible. This dude did not care and do like.
Yeah.
So 2020, that election gonna be wild. I'm definitely not gonna be on Twitter for that because you know everybody thinks freaking they know everything on there.
When do you think we're gonna have to like shut off Twitter? Like September or October, or how soon?
It's gonna be pretty soon, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be soon. It's gonna be like by the time August rolls around, that's when they're gonna start going hard. That's when the horse racing starts, you know?
It's going to be like August all the way until he's, what is this, like an inaugural date? Or I don't even know if he gets an inaugural date because he's already in office. But I remember that. I remember 2016, like being on college and being on Twitter and just like, bro, it was news every night. And then because I was in Sacramento at the time, that's the state capital. So there's protests left and right, like on every block, dude. It was pretty nuts.
It's gonna, dude, this election's gonna get nasty just because Joe Biden has been in politics for so long. He has like a 40-year-long career. He was a senator in Delaware for a long time. And I think Donald Trump and the Republicans are really fucking good at like painting as their opponent as something, you know, like they've always pinned people as someone. And Joe Biden's got a lot of stuff to get pinned on him. And I think like come August, you're gonna start seeing some nasty stuff about Joe Biden. Like he's not gonna know how to respond. He's gonna shit the bed, dude. Like and like, you know, just a lot of people say he has dementia. I think that's kind of too far, but like you do look at him talk and he has a hard time. He has a hard time getting through sentences.
Yeah,
exactly. Like that fumble when he said like he was running for senator or something like that. Or I was like, dog, like, you know what you're doing right now? Like,
yeah, that's tough because I remember like learning in history, like the first ever televised presidential election was JFK versus what's that dude? Reagan, or not Reagan, Nixon. And I remember learning, at least in history books, they said JFK, a lot of people liked him because he was so smooth as a talker. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the way you communicate with people, whether you're a good political dude or not, like if you can communicate with someone well, like chances are people are going to love you and be drawn to you regardless of your politics. So, you know, if Biden already has that against him, man, it's a tough look. He has an uphill climb, you know?
Definitely. I mean, look at Obama, dude.
Yeah.
Like his speeches got people going nuts. Like Tre was just talking about it, how he felt listening to Obama.
Because he's charismatic, man. That's one thing Obama had. Like politics aside, he had charisma. Not gonna lie, like he just he had like a likability. You know what I mean? Like I would sit down and have a beer with Obama. You know?
Yeah, the beer test. He for sure passes the beer test.
No, exactly.
But I feel like too, like the way he talks to you, like he'll put you on game without it, like kind of like demonizing you. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll like say some knowledgeable stuff without making like, oh, I'm putting you down in your place, you know?
Agreed. And I had a follow-up question, actually. This wasn't a no, so I'll ask you guys. What changes do you think, or if you don't think any changes should be made to the electoral college system? Is there a right way to go about it? Because I feel like brainstorming different ways we could approach it. I feel like someone's going to be unhappy regardless how you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, this might be an unpopular opinion. I just think the nation's too big to say, hey, let's do popular vote. The electoral college now is kind of like a little different. You know, it's not necessarily what I'm trying to say, but I think presidential election obviously really important because they represent the entire United States, which we're a part of. But definitely, people got to pay more attention, like to your city council people, your mayors, your governors, your senators, your House of Reps in your state for your area, because those people actually have more effect on your lives than the president does. And, you know, like I said, like the president does represent everything, but I just think like the average person, like us three, like how much research are we doing for the mayor, or how much research are we doing for, you know, council people in Anaheim, Santa Ana? So it's honestly a lot, like to ask someone, hey, you got to do research on president, but also on the governor and like 20 other offices. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like, honestly, I think it'd be cool if like each state was their own country, but I know that's never gonna happen, you know?
Yeah, that's a whole other ball of problems, dude. That's a whole other like.
I know.
But I agree with you, man. I think, you know, because just look at the facts. How much time does the average American spend actually researching politics? Almost none. No. You know, like almost none. Like it's a headache. I get it. Like I studied this shit in school for 2 years, dude. Like I know it's a headache. You know, so I think it's not so much a problem with electoral college. I think it's more of a problem of money in our government. You know, and money having such a sway on politics is the root of the problem of what people are thinking about, you know, because like how does like 2 times in the past 25 years a president has been elected not by popular vote but by electoral college? Like that's nuts. Like there's something going on, you know, and I think money plays a big part in that.
So this is like a super baked question for you guys, and I'm not baked, but I've had this question or taught this conversation before. But do you think like whether it's us, the United States, or just any country, society could live without a government? Like, do you think there's an absolute need for government in a group of people?
Yes, to an extent. but I do think it would be difficult for a country, or at least a country as our size, to live without a government. But even if you try to picture something on a smaller scale, like a state, I still think it's necessary. I think the question is, how much government involvement do you want?
Right.
You know what I mean? It comes down to that, but I do think it is necessary, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think government, because I mean, like, even look at a business, it's still kind of ran like a government. Like, there's levels to it. There's certain checks that you have to go through. You have to be talking to other people and clear an idea through them before you can implement something in a business, you know? So I think it's definitely, it's just for organization's sake, right? And like making sure to the best of your ability, everyone gets a say.
Agree.
What do you think? Do you think we could survive with the government?
I mean, honestly, I kind of think so. Yeah, I don't know what it would look like, to be honest. It wouldn't be no utopia. And obviously, like, you look at like natives. I had a few history classes studying like the history of Africa and history of Mexico. So, we learned a lot about the Aztecs, Mayans, and different tribes. And obviously, there was, there's violence and people raiding other smaller tribes locally, and same thing in Africa. But I don't know. I think a lot of times in movies or in shows, they portray anarchy as like a bad thing, but I don't think it's necessarily as bad or as bad as people think it would be if there was anarchy,
I agree, because when I think anarchy, I think of like The Purge or something. You know what
I
mean?
Yeah. Mad Max type shit.
You know?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, it's the thing about like having like the government intervention, right? It's kind of like the assumption that like people wouldn't work for their living unless they were forced to, right? Like that's kind of what like government's enforcing to make sure that we all stay cordial with each other, I think is like the main purpose of it. I heard a quote once. It said, how did it go? It said, like, taxes and paying money to the government is the price you pay to live in a peaceful society. I think that sums it up pretty well,
Yeah, because like just going back to like the native tribes, you know what I mean? Like you could be a tribe of 100 and this other tribe over here has 1,000 people and they could just like wreck your shit like on any given day, and you just got to take it. Like there's none of that here in like in a government in our kind of society,
Yeah, you know, like California is never gonna invade Utah.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it'd be tight though. Salt Lake looks really nice in the winters.
Shit, that's a lot of Mormon people to take in, dude.
If there's a state to invade, if we going on that, I actually don't know, but we got to kick Florida out, though. Florida can't be. They got to be their own country. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to invade Florida. There's a lot of alligators. I feel like that'd be pretty dangerous.
You gotta worry about the crazy people that live there.
Alligators eat the crazy people, bro.
Yeah. No, seriously, the gator. I saw that movie Crawl. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. It's not a great movie, but it's essentially like it's a hurricane and they get trapped in a house, but it floods and then alligators come up in the house and it's like, yo, that's terrifying.
No.
Yeah.
Hell nah, dude. I'm cool.
Cool. I think though, like going back to the evading question, I think if you just Oregon and Washington, so we just have the whole West Coast,
No, you don't want Vegas and Nevada? That would be a good addition. Vegas is pretty much like California. Like it's just like an honorary California city.
Vegas is like California 60 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the strip, there's not really much. It's like all desert, like, I don't know.
I feel like it, bro. What's San Bernardino County? Same thing.
That's true, man.
Yeah, you're right.
I heard about this crazy story in Nevada. This is completely unrelated. I just thought it would be interesting. About this set. It was like this old school, like super racist movie. Like it had like Clint Eastwood in Yellowface playing Genghis Khan. Terrible movie.
What?
But they filmed it in Nevada, where back in like the 30s during like World War II, they were testing all their nuclear weapons.
Right.
And every single person who worked on that set has contracted cancer.
What?
Damn.
Yeah, dude. And like 60% of them are dead from cancer.
Damn.
What?
That's a trip with the nuclear stuff, actually, too. Because there was something not to that magnitude, but over here on Orange, where I stay off, you guys familiar with Chapman Avenue?
Yeah.
Not the Chapman Avenue in Fullerton, but the one in Orange that runs from Santiago Canyon College all the way to Gardner Grove.
Yeah.
So right off the freeway, the 55, there's a little dog park, and at the edge of the dog park, there's just like a large chunk of grass. But when I was growing up in Santa Ana, there was a big it was like a little league field. I forgot what like little league it belonged to, but like there was like 3 little fields in that large chunk of grass. And then when we moved to Orange, because I moved as a preteen to Orange, I remember like my parents told me in the newspaper, like that land, like back in the 40s and 50s, like they dumped a bunch of nuclear waste in that like lot. And then they had to like close the dog park, close the little league, dig out everything up, and then, you know, resod it and everything. But they don't play little league anymore. They put the dog park, but it's more tucked away from the corner of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just remember thinking that was crazy. Like damn, like they did that and didn't tell people like, hey, let's put a little league park right on top of some fucking nuclear waste. Like that's sketchy, you know?
It is sus. You guys, I'm not going to talk about it right here, but in your free time, watch John Oliver's video about nuclear waste, and like you'll be terrified. We're really, really irresponsible with nuclear shit.
I think just like, with any trash in general, like there's too much trash, you know?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
We don't care about nothing over here.
Yeah. I mean, this is, yeah, I think was environmentally stuff talking about on the topics?
It was in the notes.
Yeah, I'm always down with that, man. I'm
down
to talk about the environment.
Yeah, so speaking of environment, I just want to make an announcement. Don't litter, you know what I mean? Let's keep it real. I'm keeping it simple.
Right?
Don't litter. There's a trash can for a reason, and recycle. That's what I got for the environmental.
It's like the easiest thing you could do is just put it in the trash can, you know?
Now you would think.
I mean, if you want to talk about like how you can really make an impact environmentally speaking, cutting back on eating meat, man. It's crazy that isn't taught more in schools to me, that one of the main destroyers of our ozone layer, of our environment, is our agriculture industry. It's really
cows,
wasteful.
Right?
Cows, man. Yeah, any red meat, pigs and cows, they're big animals. They take up a lot of land, drink a lot of water, eat a lot of food, and they put out a lot of methane. So try and cut back on red meat, guys.
Mm-hmm. That was a cool thing. Like I'm actually like an ambassador for this company called Phoenix Fit, and if you guys are interested, I'll shoot you the link. But they're all about like giving back to the community and being environmentally friendly. And it's the first time I ever heard of it. I bought like this protein called cricket protein, and they were talking about it in their like little bio video, essentially saying like that most protein powders are made from beef, but beef takes a lot of, like you said, glass. It hurts the environment, and you need less water. But, you know, crickets, like a lot of countries eat crickets, especially in like Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. I think in South America too. But like crickets have just as much protein. You don't need as much space. You don't need as much water to make it. So it was like learning all that. I was like, damn, like it's a little bit more expensive, but like I'm going to do that, you know, like, you know, fuck beef protein.
Yeah, that's a good alternative.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, man. It's just hard to bring that up to people. You know?
Yeah.
Especially an American.
Yeah.
They're like, eat crickets? No. My food eats crickets. I don't eat crickets.
Yeah, it's tough, man. People here got egos, and they don't want, especially because we've been doing certain things for like not 1,000, but you know, a few hundred years, towards like it's gonna be hard to change the status quo.
Right. I mean, it's like culturally important to people. Like, are Mexican dudes not gonna be able to eat their mom's carne asada anymore?
Right.
You know, like for real, like it's very important to people's culture. Like food is an intimate thing. And like to be like, yeah, that food that you're enjoying is having a huge impact on the world that you're living in. It's hard pill for people to swallow.
And even all the farmers and ranchers that make a living off of, you know, herding cows and that kind of stuff too, breeding, like they're going to be out of jobs if we were just to eliminate it all from society.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's just like an American thing, though? Like just being ignorant to everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm about to say
100%.
for example, like the government told us, like, hey, you should stay 6 feet away, social distance, and you're like, hey, you're not gonna tell me what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think I was having this conversation with my girlfriend because, like, when we first got put into quarantine, she was like, they should have just said 4 months, like from the start. That's just 4 months. You guys are on lockdown. Don't go anywhere. You can't. Like, we'll bring everything to you. If they would have had the resources to provide that aid. And I said, no, like that would have never worked because this whole country is built on freedom, right? Like no matter what the government says, like you have the ability, like a freedom to protest it, whether it's good or bad. And like there's been stuff changed. Like look at marijuana in the state of California, and a lot of other places of like 10 years ago it wasn't as this free to use. And so like I just said, like people were gonna react a certain way if you said, hey, like because you know how Italy they locked down hard. Wuhan, they locked down hard. I think even New York City, because there's so many people and a lot of people got it at the beginning, they locked down hard. But if you told the whole country, like, hey, for 4 months, everyone has to stay inside, can't go anywhere, work shut down, people would have rebelled like super hard because we have that like we're conditioned a certain way to believe, hey, we have freedom to do this and whatever we want, you know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, even look at how this country started, right? Like we said, fuck Britain, dumped their tea into a river, and then started our own country on stolen land, you know? Like there's a little bit of rebel in us, you know, just by being American. And we're a new country. I read a book where a guy was trying to guess what's going to happen over the next 100 years. He wrote it back in like 2004, and it's spooky because he already got a lot of shit right. But the way that he put it is that America is an adolescent nation right now. And so like you think about European countries, they're old, you know, like old cultures, they've been through it already. America, we're what, 1776?
Yeah.
200 something years old.
Yeah.
Like we're still trying to figure it out. Like our government is still trying to figure out like the way that everything's organized, you know? I think a lot of people forget that we aren't that disconnected from the past.
Yeah, and I think too what adds to it is like for World War I and World War II, we played big parts in like this country at least played big parts in like kind of ending those world wars. So like imagine like having a young teenager, like he's really successful in certain things. He's gonna get really cocky now, right? Like he thinks he calls the shots and he's thinking like he's an adult when really like, you know, we're not even like hitting that 18, 20, you know, 20-year-old version and maturity and stuff like that. And so you run into problems like Vietnam and other like, you know, kind of sloppy mess ups and whatever in the country's history. But I think definitely both world wars and like the role we played in it, like adds to the ignorance and adds to this, you know, like, oh, we're this big and mighty country because, you know, we could do this, you know?
Back-to-back World War champs, baby.
Right. And one thing that tripped me out is, okay, so this week I'm interviewing an Australian artist, right? And it actually made me think. I'm like, I don't know nothing about Australia. I don't know nothing about any foreign countries. He asked me the leader of United Kingdom is. I want to be able to tell you. He asked me who the Canadian president is. I know it's Justin something. I don't know his name though. And I'm just like, but all these countries know a lot about us. They know who Donald Trump is for sure. They know who our celebrities and stuff is. You know, wonder why that is, or do you have an answer to why that is? You think?
Well, I know we control a lot of the media, especially like a lot because it's expensive to have your own media outlets, right? So like a small country. I mean, I know like Bollywood is starting to pop off in India, but like, you know, before 30 years ago, they were getting a lot of stuff from the United States, and same thing with like different parts of Asia, different parts of Africa, different parts of Europe, even. So it's like not every country has the resources to put, you know, a CBS in every major city and have live sports televised. So, you know, like the NBA is huge in China for a reason, because they don't have, they do have a Chinese basketball league, but it's not as huge because we were able to televise worldwide. So I think that's probably a huge reason why everyone knows so much about us, is because we outsource our media rights. I remember learning that in communications.
Oh,
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense.
Even like old, like in really like poor countries that are barely starting to get TVs, like I know like they outsource like older TV shows like Saved by the Bell, Friends, like from the 80s and 90s, like shows that we don't even think about anymore, but they're so cheap to other countries that, you know, they're watching that. And I don't want to throw out of countries and be wrong, but and humiliate them, but you know what I'm saying, like like poorer countries, they're watching like shows from the 80s.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, It makes sense too, because no other country has a celebrity culture quite like America, where like it's this huge, like, think there's thousands and thousands of celebrities here, thousands of actors. Like you see a new one every week on television. You watch some British TV shows and you see the same dudes in every single show. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah. No, because I just wondered that. I just felt like, am I the one that's like just uncultured and I don't know anything else about other countries? I don't watch any other TV shows. I don't listen to any other music really that's not based out of here. I'm pretty sure the most famous person in the world probably is Donald Trump, and he's American. You know what I mean? So I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I think it's just the reputation we get too. I mean, the U.S. has been involved in like Iraq and everywhere from the Middle East, Asia, Africa, South America. So I feel like everyone knows who like the United States is just based off like the amount of activity they've had in their past, you know. So I feel like it's normal for that, because we don't look at like Germany because they haven't been super active in like the past 30, 40 years. So you don't consider them a world power, I guess you would say. So we're not like keeping tracks of who their president is and, you know, yada, yada, yada. Unless it's like a crazy person like Castro in Cuba or Kim Jong-un in North Korea. We don't really know who like countries' leaders are.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because when you ask people about like other countries' cultures, it's not only like I don't know. It's like I don't know and I don't give a shit. Yeah. You know, like, and I feel like that's so specific to here, because I went to Canada once and they were like hella interested in like American culture. Like, what do because I live in Southern California. Like I live in one of the best places in America. So they're interested, but like, you know, it made me realize like how uninterested Americans are in other lifestyles.
Dang, I feel like Canada is just like America but colder. I've never been.
And less
people. It kind of is, but like there are some major differences with like how people interact with each other. Like it's not like walking around Anaheim where it's like you see a certain street and it's got like weird lighting and you're like, I'm not going to hang around there. There was not a single street like that in Montreal where I was like, yeah, dude, I would walk anywhere around there on foot by myself. No question.
And Montreal is like the French part of Canada too, right?
So they're like the mean ones, and they were still pretty nice.
That's crazy.
No, that's one place I always wanted to go. I would say Toronto, Canada. I want to visit. And outside of the country as well. Let me see. I want to go to Tokyo. Tokyo seems like it'd be tight.
That car racing scene in Tokyo, that'd be nice, bro, to see.
Right?
Everything in Tokyo would be so sick, man. Like everything there is just cranked up to 10.
Yeah, because like even like their baseball games, like I don't know if you guys are into sports like that, but their baseball games, they're chanting nonstop like it's a soccer game in Europe, you know? They got chants and everything.
There's a guy whose whole job is to get the crowd pumped. Yeah. And he has to be like a professional hype man. And like he has to know, dude, seriously, he knows like 100 different songs and all the fans know all the same songs. It's cool. It's look up a video of a Japanese baseball game, Trey. You'll be like, what the hell?
I'm just worried about like the difference culturally. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, I'll want to go in there blind. I'll do my research and, you know, like, do they tip? Do they don't tip? I think America's like the only place that really tips anywhere. And other stuff like that. Yeah. Other countries, like, it looks like disrespectful that you're giving them money or something like that.
Yeah. I think just to go on the topic of like traveling outside of the country, I think it'd be really cool to see like a lot of the safari in Africa, because I feel like in 50 years, it's kind of like a pessimistic view, but I just think in like 50, 60 years, there's going to be a lot more animals that are extinct. And like a lot of those like species are in Africa because we're just going to continue to populate or, you know, steal their resources or something, you know, like it's a lot of those big animals that are there are probably not going to be there in 50, 60 years. So I want to get a chance to see them before, you know, I'm gone.
No, I feel that.
No, that's a good point. They probably are. Like not to share that pessimistic view, but like, I mean, like, look at America. Like we got rid of like before people settled on America, we had the most megafauna out of any continent. We had more than Africa in terms of like massive beasts living on the land. We had way more than Africa.
Yeah.
Saber-tooths,
Mammoth.
Bison, dude.
Yeah.
Bison are huge, and there was thousands, and not to like huge elk, huge deer. And do you guys see any bison? You know, like so it does happen quick. It happens a lot faster than what people realize, which is scary, super scary.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, man, y'all got me all sad now. I'm like, damn, poor animals.
No, it's true. I mean, even like the Amazon, the rainforest too in South America, that it was like huge. Like it's like 5 countries big. You know, it's that stuff's dwindling too for paper and different stuff like that for wood products. You know.
Yeah.
Any place you would want to visit, John, outside of the country that you haven't already?
I've only been to Canada, man. That's the only place I've been out of the country. But I really want to go to Europe. I think like Germany would be sick.
Mm-hmm.
I hear the beer is cheaper than water out there. So I'd be down to like, you know, go to I would be no. Hear me out. Here's my vision. I want to go to like the rural area. You know, like not necessarily in the city. I want to go to where like the yodeling Germans are.
Okay.
Damn. Okay. Deep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the real local experience.
Mm-hmm.
No, that would be mad fun. My dad, he was stationed in Germany when he was in the army, Frankfurt.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said, they said they drink a lot of beer over there. Like,
dude, yeah, cheaper than water, literally.
They're Italian wine. Italy's the one with the good wine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Italy would definitely be a stop for me too. I'm not a wine person, but if it's Italy, why not?
And I think countries like Italy and Greece too would be cool because there's so much history. Like I'm sure you guys all remember learning about the great Roman Empire, the great Greek Empire too, and the different like city states that they had back then. So it'd be cool because a lot of those buildings are still up like that. We don't have thousands of year old buildings here in the United States like they do.
Yeah, that way I feel like they would have a certain feel to them. You know, like you would look at them and you're like, these were made a long time just by the way that the structures are. They're like stone pieces.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the food, man. Greek food.
Oof.
Yeah, that's tough. You know that.
Man.
That'd be good.
So let's just switch gears real quick. Last topic of the day, or I guess one of the last, depends on what we talk about. Keep going.
Yeah.
But one thing we do want to stress is, the importance of, having good mental health. Like I was talking to John yesterday, I was telling him like I feel that, mental health should be treated just as important as physical health, just like you go to the gym and eat healthy, you got to do stuff to keep your mental health right too. And especially right now during this quarantine, a lot of people, they're suffering. A lot of people are going through it for, multitude of reasons. So I just wanted to stress that importance. I was wondering if any of you guys had any additional comments or.
No, go ahead. I got kind of a big piece. That's why.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start with it then. I just think kind of like to go with the future predicting that we've done in the show. I just think with the quarantine and just like with the importance of like people kind of like who held on to mental health showing a lot of bad symptoms for holding it on for so long. I think, and a lot of people also are studying into that field, right? Psychology is like a huge up and coming field. I think, honestly, I think like in public schools and colleges, like K through 12, like they're going to have like 3 to 4 psychologists, maybe even more on deck. And it's just become a norm. And hopefully like in 15 to 20 years, if not sooner, where I just think it's going to really stress mental health. Because I think like anxiety is a huge common one. I think depression is another common one that's not really talked about a lot. And, for whatever reason, I know there was, in like Mexican culture and Mexican household like mine, machismo is a big thing of that. So like no one talks about their feelings. But I just feel like that's just, especially for us, like 3 males, like men like don't like to talk about their feelings with other men. I know even growing up, like if I ever had something deep to say, I would run to my like girl best friend and tell her and vent to her,
Yeah.
So I feel like just it's going to be more normalized. I work with kids at the middle school age, and I feel like they are already better at talking about their feelings than we were at middle school. So I think that's a good sign. And I'm hoping like in 15 to 20 years, we're going to see like things revolutionary change, not just at schools, but like, every work site's going to have 3 to 4 psychologists on deck. Every doctors, like after experiencing the COVID, outbreak and stuff like that, I'm sure they're going to have a bunch of psychologists on deck. to, you know, deal with their emotions, and the doctors and the nurses. So hopefully it just becomes a normal thing, you know?
No, agreed completely. And I want to ask you, do you think social media and mental health or mental illness is linked in any way?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can go in on this one if you want to go first.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they do have a link. I think they have a link, and it could either be good or bad, you know, because social media could be really cool. Like it could, like it allowed us to set up this podcast right now, you know, like just one Instagram group chat. That's all it took for all of us to be on board. But like also at the same time, there's a lot of ego going on social media, a lot of echo chambers. And I think, you know, like you were talking about psychology, I think psychology is having a hard time keeping up with the changes that it's having on our brain, you know, and just the way that like people process information.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's a lot of instant gratification on social media, so I think that definitely hurts it a lot, like the ability to like, and then you compare your likes to somebody else's likes. And I know it just even from personal experience, like when I was 19, 20, like fresh out of high school, and Instagram was like not as big as it is now, but it was still kind of popping. You know, like when you hop on social media like that, you don't want to follow, at least as a 19 to 20-year-old, I thought it was kind of corny to follow someone like Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or those motivational speakers or motivational pages. I wanted to follow people who were like traveling, but a lot of times I would get like really like depressed and I fell into really bad depression from 19 to 20 just because I would see people living lives that I wanted to live, but I was like nowhere near that. And so I think a lot of times it's jealousy, you know, like you get jealous of the lives that people live in. Again, you compare your life to the life that they're portraying on a screen, not even knowing their whole life. They could have a shittier life than you, but they're, you know, maxing out 10 credit cards to live that life that they're portraying on Instagram. So you never know what really is going on in someone's life, but what they portray on a screen, because we're always portraying a lot of times the best versions of ourselves or best versions of our lives on social media. So I think that's what makes it difficult. And you got to understand that it is the best version, not the entire version.
I agree with that completely. That's why what's the saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on Instagram in particular, you know, everyone, like you said, they're putting their best life or appearing that way. Nobody on Instagram's like, "Hey, yo, lost my job today. Hey, yo, 2 months behind in my rent. It's all good though." You know what I mean? No one does that. And so if you're feeling, you know, some type of way, like maybe down or whatever, you go on Instagram, you say, "Oh, someone bought a new car. Oh, someone did this. Oh, someone did that." Like, it doesn't help, you know, seeing that. Even though in reality, like you said, like that may not be the case. They're just putting it on the front to make everyone else think, "Hey, my life's the best. I'm happy. I'm doing everything." So that's why I do think it's linked in some way, you know.
Definitely. I think we're kind of lucky too, because you guys are both a little bit older than me. But I still remember like before social media, like I remember making my Instagram, you know, thank God I used my real name, didn't make it anything fucking stupid. But dude, like I feel bad for like the 14-year-olds right now who they don't know a time before it. Cause like we know in our head that like the Instagram life, what you see on Instagram isn't what's reality.
Right.
Cause we saw before all that social media stuff came in. So like we know that and like we saw it with our own eyes, but like these kids don't know any other life. So it's like you have to tell them that it isn't always as it appears on the internet, but they don't really get to see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like their whole life is wrapped up in the internet. So
yeah.
But they kids surprise me, man. They're woke as fuck. I got a 15-year-old cousin and he's like so in touch with his emotions. It's crazy.
Right? Dude, that's the trip. So like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Like some could be good, some could be bad. It's a trip because I remember the first iPhone came out when I was in 9th grade. I forgot what year, 2009, 2008, around that time. So that's like essentially the kickoff of all smartphones. But just imagine being like, you know, because I remember wanting, like, ask my parents, like, "Hey, can I get an iPhone? How can I get an iPhone?" I didn't get one until I was 18, already done with high school. But I can only imagine being like in 2nd grade and like all your friends have iPhones and you're like, "Hey, can I get an iPhone?" And your parents tell you no, like, but everyone in 2nd grade, like imagine 2nd graders being in 2nd grade with an iPhone, you know, like fuck.
It's wild, man. It's wild. You know, like there's going to be a lot of really, really smart kids because they're going to be able to look everything up. But at the same time, it's like, what sort of damage is that going to cause?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not if there's going to be damage and changes, it's what are those going to be, right?
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. And it's just hard to imagine elementary school kids with like social media, Snapchat, TikTok, and stuff. I had to like sneak and create my MySpace, and now they're like just out there with it, you know?
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
crazy,
remember,
man.
I remember like having a Yahoo email account and doing the IM, what is it, AIM
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
the messenger. Like that was like, because I never got MySpace either. Kind of like I had to sneak around it, but I was never able to do it. But shit, man, those are like, I feel like old saying that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, dude, for real. Like compared to the kids nowadays, now I told myself when I was like 18, I'm like, I'm not going to become old. I'm going to stay
Yeah.
up to date with the kids. I'm going to be cool.
Mhm.
Now I'm like, what is TikTok? I don't get it and I don't like it.
As a 20-year-old too now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I
Yeah.
let it happen. But
Yeah.
that's what it is. Let them
No,
have fun.
no, agreed. And I just think, like, going back to the double-edged sword thing, it's just different times. Like, for example, a girl in high school could do something crazy or whatever, and like it'd be like getting cyberbullied on social media or whatever. Like she transfers to a different school, that's still gonna be there. You can, like
Yeah.
back in the day, you transfer to different schools, like you're living a whole new life. Like no one knows you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now, like whatever happened or whatever, it follows you with social media. And I don't think these kids really get that either. You know, because they be posting and doing stupid shit. But
Yeah. It stays with you. Like the one thing I do hate about that though is like a lot of times you see in pro sports, there'll be a baseball player or a football player or a basketball player who's like young, up and coming, usually a rookie or second year in the league. But then they'll like find something on Twitter from like 2010. Like, so Twitter's only like 3 years old at that time. And they're probably like 16, 15 at the time. And they're saying some stupid stuff. Sometimes it's racist and I don't agree with that. But like other times they're just saying like maybe homophobic stuff or something different. Right. But I feel like it's wrong to judge someone based off what they were thinking as a 15, 16-year-old, because I know for a fact I wasn't the perfect 15, 16-year-old. I just think it's kind of ignorant when people are like, oh, like he should be like fired from the MLB and never play baseball again. It's like, what? Like, really? Like, who were you at 17 to say something like that, you know?
Cancel culture, man. Cancel
Yeah.
no,
culture.
that's one thing I agree. If even if, for example, who was it? Josh Hader was the one who was like the
Yeah,
racist
that's the one I
stuff
was
they
thinking of.
got him on. Even though, you know, like I said, I don't agree with racism. I don't agree with tweets. I don't know if he's the same person now. I don't know how old he's 20 something as he was when he was 15 and 16. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not going to judge him off that. I'm pretty sure he regrets those tweets. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I, I think some people make a bigger deal than it is. But like I said, these kids are going to realize like whatever you put on the internet, it's in stone. It don't go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's permanent. It's permanent for sure. But at the same time, like I feel like they're not gonna, in my opinion, I don't think they're gonna adopt a mentality of getting smarter. I think people are gonna learn to accept that people have changed a little bit
Right.
better. You know, because it's like, yeah, they said that dumb shit 8 years ago, but that was 8 years ago. You know, with how fast, like 8 years ago, man, I was 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I would not be talking like this 8 years ago, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
especially nowadays, with how much things are changing and how fast things are changing, like you can't pull up something from 5 years ago because it's not valid anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
that person is not going to think the same way, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's really unfair to people to immediately just be like, you know what, they said this one time, fuck them.
Yeah.
I think that's a really bad attitude. I think it creates more hate than good is
Right.
like my main problem with it. Like no
Mm-hmm.
one's gonna learn anything from that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. So I got a 2-part question for you guys, kind of related to this topic. Would you guys, one, do you guys plan on having kids? And two, at what age would you allow not your parents, what age would you allow your kids to have a smartphone, one, or and then two, have like social media? And then would you kind of like give them that rundown, like, hey, don't be tweeting dumb shit, or hey, don't be posting stupid shit that's going to come back and haunt you?
Ugh. That's a tough one, man. Because by the time I don't even know what's gonna be going on.
Right? Yeah, it is tough to predict.
But I mean, I would probably say maybe I want to say like maybe 7th grade, junior high age. But by then, I'm pretty sure all his or her friends are going to be having iPhone social medias, 10,000 followers and stuff. So I honestly don't know, man. That one's a tricky one.
That one's tricky. Like, let me just start this off. I don't even know if I want kids.
Okay.
You know, like, it's where I'm at right now. You know, I'm super young, but like where I'm at right now, what I know about the world, I don't know if I want to bring a kid into the craziness. You know what I mean? Like, especially with experts saying like stuff like a coronavirus pandemic could like happen again very easily, you know? That being said, though, I feel like by the time I would have kids, you would have to get them a smartphone pretty early on, and you would just have to teach them. You know, like that's to cut them off from the modern world like that, and then like make them feel like their friends have cooler shit than them. I feel like that's not the best thing, but you have to teach them. You know, as for social media, I would for sure limit the social media though. I think that would just be for the better.
Because I think like 3-4 years ago, I was kind of like pretty like set on like if I have kids, they're not getting phones or social media on their phones to like high school. But I feel like just with how fast everything's evolving and stuff like that, and the potential to monetize something like Instagram or YouTube, it'd be like, who am I to say like if they want to pursue something like that and I'm okay with it, like why would I hold them back? But at the same time, like you said, like, you know, you could limit. There's a lot of limit restrictions. You could do it on your own iPhone if you wanted to limit how much Instagram you use or how much Twitter you use. So do something like that, and then also could just kind of, you know, from a young age, kind of put them on game and tell them what like my experience on social media, good and bad, and kind of talk about, you know, what experts say, and you know, you be the judge for yourself, but you just know this going into it, so that way you're educated about it and you can make your own choice. But for sure, I think like by elementary school, like if I'll give my kid a phone by like 3rd grade, like, and all their classmates have 3rd grade, that it's gonna be nonstop. Like, Dad, why? Like, Dad, why?
Right.
You know?
I mean, like, not to mention though, like having the phone wouldn't be all bad, right? Like having a device in your kid's pocket where they could learn from it, where you'd be able to contact them at any time if you're worried about them, you know, like that's not a completely bad thing, you know, like there's a lot of pros that go along with it, but with a lot of cons too. You know, just it's a lot more work on the parents' end. I feel like making sure that like the kid's responsible about it.
Nah, dude, if I had a smartphone in 4th grade, if they even had smartphones when I was in 4th grade, I'll be in trouble, man.
Same here, man. I'd have been in Twitter jail. Oh man, fuck.
Well, dude, now the 4th graders now are gonna be working on their laptops in class and stuff. You know?
I believe it.
So like, if they're working on a laptop, why wouldn't they have a smartphone too? You know, like it just makes sense. I hope it'll become a tool. You know,
yeah,
that might be wishful thinking. They might be like me and watch movies in class and shit. But,
right.
But hey, yeah, he'll be fine, or she. You know.
No, it went from getting caught passing notes to getting caught watching Netflix.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Bro, I remember it.
Can you guys hear that car alarm going on right now?
Yeah.
Very low.
A little bit, though.
On mine, yeah. Okay.
I'll just point the mic away.
Yeah, or you could just mute yourself when you're not talking. That worked.
Turned off. We're good.
Okay.
No, but bro, I remember being in 10th grade in the math class I was in. I believe it was Algebra 2 at the time. But I remember, dude, like the whole right section of the classroom, I remember she had to break us up because for like a good 2-month stretch, like every time she was like looking at the whiteboard writing something, like we were playing Words with Friends. I don't know if you guys remember that game.
Yeah.
Like Scrabble, but on iPhone.
Yeah.
But dude, we were like there was times where I had like 30 games going on. So like I wasn't paying attention to shit on Algebra 2, you know what I'm saying? And it was funny because like after every test, like we'd always gather up and talk like, bro, we didn't know what the hell was going on. We didn't like figure it out. It was because we were playing games, you know?
Yeah.
What a time to be alive, man.
Yeah, it's a strange world, man. It's a strange. I saw Justin Bieber roast 6ix9ine on Instagram the other day. If that's not the craziest shit you've ever heard, like, man, it made me crack up. I couldn't believe it,
man.
No, 2020 has just been a crazy year. It's just been a ridiculous year, to be honest.
Man.
On
that note, let me just speak a little piece about mental health real quick, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, yes, sir.
With all the craziness and stuff going on right now, if you guys are feeling the stress getting to you, that's okay. It's a weird time right now, and no one really knows what's going on. So if you don't feel normal, it's because it's not normal right now, and that's fine. I just want to stress that it's really important to take care of yourself and others in your circle, like just a simple phone call saying what's up, what did you eat today? Like little stuff like that, like it could seriously help someone deep in a depression. So, and also there's a lot of people who don't know, there's a lot of anonymous groups out there as well right now. They're online, they're doing Zoom calls right now. They try to keep it anonymous just to make sure that it stays valid, that they aren't trying to promote anything or push anything. But if you do search out help, there's groups out here who feel like you do, who are scared, who are anxious all the time and get in their own head as well, and those people would be able to help you. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
Just if I can add to that, just to like give my personal experience, man, I felt like I was really fortunate to have the time, or that period of time right before coronavirus hit and COVID-19 hit, because I felt like I was really able to figure out myself, self-love, self-care. And that stuff's not corny, like I know people sometimes say it is, but it's not. Like it's important. And like setting, like for me, I set time aside to, do things that I actually like each day. No matter how much stuff I got to have, 20 minutes to do this, 20 minutes to do that, 20 minutes to do like facial care or whatever. That shit really helps, And I felt like had I not had that, like literally from like last summer to January, I was figuring all that stuff out. So it was like when coronavirus hit in March, I was like, damn, I remember because I have like my girlfriend handles it a different way. Her sister and her family are handling it a different way. My cousins are handling it a different way. But I'm just like thinking in my head, like, damn, I was really fortunate to have that period of time right before COVID-19 hit to figure things out for myself more. And or else I'd be a mess too, so I understand why people are feeling it the way they feel.
Yeah, man. Like I talk to my friends, like, are you guys having weird dreams? Have you guys noticed that you guys are having weird, vivid dreams?
Me, no.
Nah. Maybe like really recently. I would say like last like three days, but nothing like since COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been having weird dreams, and I looked it up, and it's stress, dude. And like I was like talked to like some of my buddies, and they're like, yeah, I've been having these weird dreams too. And I'm like, have you been kind of anxious a lot too? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, bro, that's connected. Like that.
Yeah.
So
no, agreed. And I just want to say it's important to reach out to someone. If you know someone that's, acting a little different or down and out, just reach out to them. And if you're the person who does feel, down and out or depressed, like John said, there are anonymous support groups. Just have to do a little bit of digging, but they're out there to help you and, hear you out. So that's real important.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, John. That was nice.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think it's an important message, especially just right now. You got to remind people.
Agreed. And
what are some things that you guys do to like kind of monitor your mental health, if you guys don't mind sharing?
One thing that's huge for me is because me personally, I know I'm starting to get really into a depressive episode if I'm very in my own head.
Yeah.
And if I start just not, because I'm very involved in politics, I'm very involved in the environment. I'm always keeping up to stuff, always keeping up with that sort of stuff. And it helps me feel grounded, man. Like I'm always like angry and stuff over the politics, but I think it's actually good for me because that's how I know I still care. you know, and like it helps me feel like I have a purpose, you know, and of course music. Music, of course, is a huge outlet for me. You know, I'm expressing myself with music. So those are the two big ones for me, politics and music, which sounds weird, but it's a good formula for me.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody, man. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, that's very important. Like if there's, you know, like my solutions for what's going on with me don't have to apply to everyone, you know, like try a lot of stuff out. Something will stick.
Yeah, most definitely. And what's been helping me is I go bike riding with my girlfriend at least like every day, if not every other day. That helps me out a lot. And I just try to keep myself busy. That's why I've been doing a lot of podcast episodes. I've been enjoying it so far. Just one of my favorite ones so far, by the way. So thank you guys.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously just making music. I've been trying to learn how to produce. I've been sending a lot of my beats to John for feedback and stuff.
Good.
And I've been really enjoying it. I've been really liking it actually. So that's what's been, you know, keeping me up and just keeping me going so far.
For sure.
Oh man, what about you, Noah?
For me, same with Trey, the bike rides, man. Just something about that feeling, like, you know, the wind hitting your face and hair, like it's like a really freeing feeling for sure. I've been journaling a lot too. I think it was kind of like, to me as a youngster, like I was like, or not a youngster, but as a kid, I thought it was cheesy.
You dated yourself, man.
Shit, I know. No, but as a kid, I thought it was corny to like write a diary and stuff. Or recently, I've been doing like a journal, and some days it's not a lot. Like some days it's like one sentence about what I felt. Some days I'll try to make it like poetry and try and rhyme some things. Other days it'll be like more in depth what I did, that kind of stuff. But just try and journal what I did that day, how I felt, and then music too. Yeah. Oh, and then a big thing too. Like I recently, when I was in high school, I used to love watching freestyles, and I got away from that. Maybe it's because I was too busy or whatever. But now, like at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'm trying just like search up some freestyles of different artists that are up and coming or older freestyles. Sometimes I watch the same ones over and over again, but just like really good freestyles. I really enjoy watching those.
That's cool, man. That's like weirdly specific, but I feel that.
It is.
No,
it is.
I feel that because freestyles have a certain feel to them, you know,
compared
to
do.
Music. Yeah.
Off topic, one thing I really I like battle rap. I used to love it in high school. Now I'm getting back into it. Like you got the best bars on like
yeah.
Sure. Sometimes it could be a little bit corny, but if you can find a good battle rapper, it's pretty sick.
No, without a doubt. So yeah, it's just important just being mentally healthy, like I said, man. And yeah, that's it.
Man, good episode.
All right. So I'm glad to have both of y'all on here. We're gonna wrap this up. Did any of y'all want to plug in anything or say any last words?
Yeah, sure. Just, you know, go ahead and follow my Mike and I Instagram page at @my_Mike_I. You know, it's another podcast very similar to Tre's. It's an interview style podcast. I do artists, but a lot of like business owners, people who have clothing brands. Try and keep it local too, athletes as well from the Orange County, Southern California area. And then, but yeah, just, you know, like, last words, just kind of use this time. If you have no work right now or no school, just trying to find this time to, you know, figure out more about yourself, your mental health, and do things that you want to do, you know?
If you want to check me out, if you're a rapper who needs beats, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at CroCooks, CroCooks. And I just want to say, if you guys know anyone who's struggling with anything right now, just don't hesitate to give them a call, man. Like I said earlier, a call could really mean a lot to someone who's going through it.
Agreed completely. I think you put it best, you know, so that's the Tre Hendrix Podcast. It's one of my favorite episodes. Like I said, I can't wait to post this one. I think people are going to really like this one because, you know, we actually did something today. So I like that.
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, appreciate you for having me, Tre.
All right, no worries, man. Tre Hendrix Podcast, we out.
Yes, sir.